Hello, good evening, class. So I am prompted to record a video to answer the many questions that you have because I've been receiving messages asking about how to write the related literature. Okay, I have given you already initially how the review of related literature is being written. So it's always important that you take note of the title of your study. For example, when you ask me, Ma'am, this is our instrument. So you have to give me the title of your study because that's very important so that I would be able to decide whether that instrument is really appropriate and is measuring the appropriate variable in your study. Okay, so always tell me the title and then after that, the question. Okay, so how do you write the review of related literature? I believe that many of you are already in this part. So first, you have to know your variables. So your variables should be taken from the title. And usually, there are two or more variables in your study. And if there are two variables, it's always plus one when you use a heading in the review of related literature. And I'm going to discuss that further later. But then, this is just a general guideline on how you write your review of related literature. First, it should be current, and which means that it should be within the last 10 years. The citations, if it is 2023 now, so from 2013, go back 10 years, 2013 to 23 is still acceptable to be cited, okay, in your study. It should be sourced from reputable journals. Go to Google Scholar, and then from there, type in your keywords to search for a particular study that you want. You have to go for reputable journals, not just dictionary, not just newspaper, not just magazine, but this should be journals. So how do you do that? Go to Google Scholar, go to proquest.com, and from there, find studies related to your topic. Okay, so here are some, in the last bullet, here are some of the sources from which you could find related studies and literature. It's ProQuest, eJournals, Google Scholars. By the way, if you want to know how a particular study is written, go to scholar.google.com and then type in my name, Marianina I. Adriano, and you will see the studies that I have written. And then if you don't know how to write a review of related literature, click one of my studies and then read the review of related literature. You will see the format, how I did it there in that particular study. So just try to read everything that you can and learn from it. All right. So next, the review of related literature should be based on the variables of your study. And each variable of your study has a corresponding statement of the problem or research question. That's why every review of related literature has a subheading, and each subheading is a variable of your study. So the length of the review of related literature is 20 to 30 pages, but I've explained this already. I'm not so particular with the pages as long as you're able to present your study clearly. So what should be in your review of related literature? But before we discuss that, there should be no copy-paste. There should be proper transitions in the paragraphs. For example, because I will be able to detect whether it's copy-paste or not. There is no transition. You need to have, however, the first paragraph states, and then after, meanwhile. So these are transitional words that you will use as you discuss your review of related literature. I want you to cite all your sources, and of course, all your sources should be within 10 years. And you have to end the review of related literature with your purpose of the study. Okay, this is an example of how you're going to do it. If your title is Effect of Parental Support on Grade 1 Pupils' Academic Performance in Modular Learning Approach in Kaingin Elementary School. So the variables of your study are parental support and then modular learning approach. So these are two variables that you will also use as headings in your study. And you may tell me, ma'am, there are only two variables. What's the third variable? Because you have here the effect, the third heading in your review of related literature is parental support and academic performance. Okay, let's discuss that further. And remember that for each variable, you have to create a research question. For parental support, the research question is what is the level of parental support? For academic performance, this is the corresponding research question. What is the academic performance? And then we ask about the relationship or the effect of parental support on academic performance. Okay. Since that is the title of your study, so this should be the facade of your RRL. These should be the headings that I will see in your RRL. The first variable, parental support, followed by pupils' academic performance, and then combine the two, parental support and academic performance. And since it's modular learning approach and it's not the traditional one, then you may also include modular learning approach. Now, in this first variable, what should I see when I read your RRL? You have to look for studies, related studies, studies related to your topic, studies that investigated parental support. Okay? And these studies should be discussed under the heading parental support in your RRL. So you gather as much studies, whatever it is, whatever the method or the research design used, as long as it is discussing or use the variable parental support, then include them under this heading. Okay, the second variable, pupils' academic performance. You have to include under this heading all studies that investigated academic performance of pupils, regardless of the other variables used. Basta't gumamit academic performance, include that in your study. Discuss it. How is that study related to your study now? How is academic performance used in those studies that you're citing? And how is it related to the study that you are conducting now? Okay, so include everything within 10 years. Okay, and then the third subheading under your RRL is parental support and academic performance. You will choose studies that investigate both in one study, parental support and academic performance in one study, and include and discuss that under your RRL. Okay? Yung kanina, the first one, parental support, lahat lang ng parental support, yun ang lalagay natin under that heading. And then the second one, lahat lang ng gumamit ng academic performance, lalagay natin doon. Dito sa pangatlo, lahat na magkasama dapat ang parental support at academic performance sa isang study, and then you will discuss that under that particular heading, and then you mention how is that related to the current study that you are now doing. And then the second one is modular learning approach. Okay, so any study that used the context of modular learning approach, discuss it under that particular heading. Okay, so this is how your RRL should look like. Ganyan yung mga subheadings niya. Halimbawa, if you have student factor as your subheadings, then all here, kaya lang may another subheading dito para lang makita nyo. Pero dapat marami itong mga studies that use the student factor. Okay, lahat yan, ipapasok nyo dyan. And then if your other variable is teacher factor, lahat ng studies na gumamit ng teacher factor, ipasok nyo at i-discuss nyo dyan. If another variable is curriculum factor, so lahat ng studies that use curriculum factor, ipasok nyo dyan. So that's how the format is in your RRL. Another example is this topic, effect of the vocabulary strategy intervention on students' reading performance. So you have two variables here. You have the vocabulary strategy and the reading performance. So the vocabulary strategy, if you're going to do an RRL, should be one of the headings. And then every study that used vocabulary strategy, discussed it under that. And then the second variable is reading performance. Gather all studies that used reading performance as a variable, discuss it, and compare it, contrast it with your current study. Now, what's the third heading? Of course, combine the two, vocabulary strategy and reading performance. And all studies where you see vocabulary strategy and reading performance, discuss that under that particular heading. So, ganon dapat makita ang RRL. The same is true with this second topic, effect of the remedial reading program on grade 8 students' level of reading comprehension. You have two variables, remedial reading, and the second one, level of reading comprehension. And then the third variable under your RRL should be both remedial reading and level of reading comprehension. Okay, we have discussed that already, the research questions. Let's now move on to theoretical framework. One of the questions that I've been receiving is, Ma'am, do I have to place both theoretical framework and conceptual framework in one study? Now, theoretical framework is different from conceptual framework, and let's now differentiate it by defining what theoretical framework is. When we say theoretical framework, the root word is theory. And theory is a set of interrelated constructs, definitions, and propositions that presents a systematic view of a phenomenon. It shows the relationship between variables. A theory is something that has been proven already through the conduct of many studies. An example of theory is Pavlov's stimulus response theory. Another is Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of cognitive development. Okay, when you do your study, you need to have theoretical framework regardless if your study is qualitative or quantitative. Okay, but if your study is qualitative, you may not use conceptual framework. Also, you may do that, but usually it can stand without the conceptual framework. But this theoretical framework should always be in all kinds of study. I want you to use only one particular theory as much as possible. I don't want you to use 3 theories, just one major theory. Okay, so what now is a conceptual framework? It's like a map that tells you where you are going in your study and how you will do what you will do in order to be successful in completing your study. If I want to know the variables of your study, I would just go and look at the conceptual framework. And usually what you will find there are boxes, arrows, or lines. And that's basically what conceptual framework is. It's like a map that points you to where you are going. That's why you have the lines and arrows there. Okay. So a conceptual framework is a written or visual representation of an expected relationship. In theory, you have not the expected relationship, but the actual relationship of variables, because these have been proven already. In conceptual framework, your concept is not yet proven. It's just how you think about the relationships of your variables. So you're simply showing the expected relationship. The next one, the variables are simply the characteristics or properties that you want to study. These are generally developed based on a literature review of existing studies and theories about the topic. After you have conducted your review of related literature, you have your theory, and based on that literature and the theory, you will be able to come up with your conceptual framework. And usually what you find in the conceptual framework are the variables of your study. Kaya ang halaga ng variables from the very beginning, from the title hanggang sa at the end of your paper, you have to be very solid on what your variables of your study are. This is an example of a conceptual framework. You have the hours of study, which is the independent variable, and the exam score. And as you see here, you have the arrow here, which means effect. So when you see an arrow, it means effect. So as I look at this conceptual paradigm, I know that your study is the effect of the length of study on the examination score. How did I know it's the effect? Because the arrow here means an effect. Okay, so in the left side of your paper is always the independent variable. They cannot be interchanged. You cannot place the dependent variable on the left. No, it's always the IV that is on the left side. And the DV, dependent variable, is always on the right side. That is the regular order of the variables. You cannot interchange them. And as you see, usually the variables are placed inside a box. Why is it inside a box? Because a box means measurable. It's something that you can measure. So hindi tayo gumagawa lang ng kung ano-anong shape. May ibig sabihin lahat ng shape ng ginagawa natin sa research. Okay? So pag nakita kayo ng square, di ba may mga precise sides yan, meaning you can measure it. So that is true of variables. All variables are measurable. Okay? So kapag ka ito naging linya, halimbawa dito, kapag ka if you're looking at the relationship of the two variables, you do not use an arrow, you use a line because the line means relationship. So kaya hindi man kayo magsalita pag tiningnan ko ang conceptual framework, alam ko na agad kung ano ibig sabihin. What am I trying to find out in your study? Do I want to know the effect of one variable to another? Or am I looking at the relationship of two variables? What would give away that particular clarity is the arrow and the line. Kapag ka-arrow, effect yan. Kapag ka-line, relationship ang hinahanap natin. Okay, so this is an example of another conceptual framework. Dapat ang conceptual framework, hindi siya magulo. Kasi nga, kinaklarify niya ng study mo eh. Dapat malinaw ang mga variables mo. So as you see, you have 4 variables here. 1, 2, 3 are independent variables. And on the right side is your DV, dependent variables. And we are looking at the effect. How did I know? Because you have the arrow here, 3 arrows pointing to this particular dependent variable. Okay. This is an example of another model of a conceptual framework. This is the IPO model. This is often used in engineering studies, in business studies, where you have an output. Your study will generate an output such as a software, such as a training program. So you usually use this model. But for your purpose, since you are education research, most likely you're going to use the IV-DV model, just the 2 boxes connected by either a line or an arrow. So how do you understand this model? I don't want you to use this because this is very complicated. Remember, this is a bad example of conceptual framework. So what we want to do with the conceptual framework is to clarify your concept. So don't make it very complicated. Okay, so this is a bad example of a conceptual framework. We also use circles. So circles are used when you have qualitative studies, but we can forgo using conceptual framework in qualitative studies. But if you like, you can also use it, but we do not use squares because in qualitative studies, our variables are not measurable because they are subjective. So you simply use circles or oblongs in order to show relationships if there are. Okay, so this is the most common conceptual framework that you can use, which you also can use in your respective studies. This is the IV-DV model. Okay, I hope you're still understanding. Let's move on. Okay, this is the significance of the study. Somebody asked me, Ma'am, how do you write the significance of the study? You have the first paragraph. You mentioned why is your study important to conduct. The second paragraph, you have to mention the main beneficiary of the study. The third paragraph, the second beneficiary. The fourth, the importance to proponents, researchers. And the fifth, you always include the future researchers. Okay, how important is the study for all these people? Okay, this is the format in discussing the significance of the study. First, you mentioned how is it important to those who will most benefit from it. The Sabang Elementary School teachers, and then the Sabang Elementary pupils, and then the Sabang Elementary administrators, school administrators, and so on. Okay, so In writing the scope and limitation of the study, the scope refers to the extent to which you plan your study. So in order to simplify how you are going to write the scope and the limitation, I want you to think of the 5 W's and the 1 H. Who are your respondents? Remember, we're discussing the scope of the study. Who are your respondents? So start with the respondents of this study are grade 4 elementary pupils of Sabang Elementary School. We decided to focus only on grade 4 because these grade level are the ones who are in transition from grade 3 to grade 4 and are considered intermediate. Therefore, they have to be very good at reading comprehension because they will be introduced to the informative type of text or written articles. So there always has to be an explanation whenever you discuss something. So that's the who. The next one is the what. What is the purpose of your study? So mention the purpose of your study and say that you will not go beyond that particular purpose. Because if the panel member tells you, why did you not discuss this when this is related to your study? Ma'am, that is not the scope of my study because the purpose of this study is just to simply find out the effectiveness of this particular intervention to the reading comprehension of the pupils. Okay? So, yan yung ginagawa ng scope and the limitation of the study. So we have the who, the what, the where. Where are you going to conduct your study? And that's one of the limitations. So mention that your study is limited only to BTech because for convenience, and then explain why. Everything should be explained. It's not just a whim that you thought, ay, mas madali to. Hindi. Explain everything. Okay, who, what, where, when, what period are you going to conduct the data gathering? So, dapat in-explain mo hanggang saan, up to what point, until what point. So, you have to mention that. Okay, that's the when. Who, what, where, when, why. So why did you conduct the study? In order to find out. So that's similar to the purpose. So ganun nyo lang gagawin. Okay? How? Anong method ng study nyo? It's qualitative. Hindi kayo gagamit ng survey questionnaire because you're going to interview. So the who, what, where, when, why should be the focus of your scope and limitation, and discuss everything and justify. Okay, remember that there are two major approaches to research. You have the qualitative and the quantitative. When we say qualitative, the responses are in narrative, in words. Kapag ka-quantitative numbers ang responses natin. Kapag ka-numbers yan, gagamitin natin yan ng statistical test. Ang qualitative, hindi natin ginagamitan ng statistics. Ang ginagamitan lang natin ng stats ay ang quantitative. Okay, I hope that's clear. And next meeting, I'm going to discuss here the different types of the quantitative research as well as the qualitative. So that's all for now. I hope that you listen to this because later on, I'm going to give you a recitation. I will just post the question in our G classroom. So please refer to this video whenever you have questions. And I hope that I was able to clarify any confusion you may have. And in case you may have questions, please don't hesitate to give me a message in our GC. Okay, so thank you very much and have a good night, everybody.